Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda, and welcome to our channel. Folks, we have some brand new reporting that Delta could force states to expand unemployment benefits. This information comes straight from the chief of the US Labor Department. Welcome to our channel, everyone. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda. Let's just jump right in. Here's the headline of an article on your screen from Bloomberg. Delta could force states to expand jobless aid, according to the US Labor chief. The spread of the Delta variant could force even more states that cut off unemployment benefits early, could force all of those states like Florida to potentially offer additional unemployment benefits, according to President Biden's labor chief. This is a quote from the Labor Secretary Marty Walsh. He said this: if Florida has to shut down, let's say the numbers continue to climb in the next week or two, and it gets to the point where people are just afraid to go outside their front door, then there's going to have to be a safety net there for the families that can't go to work because their industry shut down. Folks, I have to tell you, this makes me extremely frustrated because the US unemployment system has been designed to help those who need help the most. You, if you're receiving unemployment benefits, you are a customer of the unemployment benefit system. The system should step up and support you at a time when you need help, and it's as simple as that. In fact, I find it unforgivable that states would actually eliminate the unemployment benefits early in an effort to push people back to work. We are human beings. We're not cattle. We're not just animals that need to be shepherded in a certain way. We have the right to be able to think about our own safety, and that's what we should be able to do in this difficult time. There are parts of the country that are not vaccinated. There are parts of the country where individuals have lost their jobs because travel, leisure, entertainment, and hospitality have been impacted permanently. We should not be forced to go back to work. On top of that, Delta is a new factor, and the White House, the administration actually recognized that because some states are really having a hard time. In fact, about half of Florida residents are vaccinated, and the state, despite that, recently reached a record in the 7-day average of cases. In fact, Walsh and the US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen sent a letter to Congress a couple of days ago, basically saying that states and local governments can use pandemic relief funds for unemployment aid. I did cover this in a separate video on our channel, so make sure you've subscribed to our channel and enabled notifications. Now, the emergency unemployment benefits of $300 per week and other aid, including the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, expires on the 6th of September. Now, Walsh and Yellen did write that that was appropriate given the improved economy, but the problem is about half of US states have already halted the payments because of a debate about getting people back to work. In fact, the Delta threat could keep some Americans out of the workforce much longer than expected. In fact, this was a direct quote from Walsh in an interview that he gave to Bloomberg News. He said this: some governors might have to make the decision of closing down again. If people are not able to work from home, we're going to need those unemployment benefits. So allowing the state to be able to do that is something that's really important. Walsh also said this. By the way, he was previously the mayor of Boston. He said, if I were a mayor today, I'd be watching these numbers really, really closely. And I feel that I could save people's lives and keep people safe by shutting down, I would. Now, keep in mind the Delta variant has in fact interfered with the recovery, and the Biden administration is trying to accomplish something that's extremely challenging, a very difficult juggling act, if you will, of trying to balance the need to reopen the economy while at the same time making sure that workers stay safe. So Walsh actually supports people getting vaccinated, and he said that more labor groups and businesses are now listening to science and trying to respond because of the resurgence of this pandemic in our country because of the Delta variant. And he said that vaccinations and masking should not be a political issue. So, folks, the challenge here is the Delta variant. This is the big unknown. This is really what makes things more difficult. This was never going to be a smooth, simple, and even recovery. In fact, if anything, this is an uneven, a haphazard, and a very bumpy recovery. And this has impacted some of us much worse than others. On top of that, you have the Delta variant. And keep in mind that some individuals, for them, life is back to normal. A lot of executives, a lot of individuals with higher degrees of education are back to work. In fact, they got back to work last year. It's almost as if there was no problem for them. But for others, their lives have been completely upended, completely turned upside down, and that is where the real challenge lies. And I think that the Labor Secretary Marty Walsh does have the right understanding of the situation. is empathetic and does understand what needs to be done because he has first-hand experience of being a mayor of a major city like Boston. Unlike the previous US Labor Secretary who, let's just say, didn't quite understand what was going on and looked at things analytically. I think Marty Walsh looks at this in a very human way, in a very empathetic way, and he understands the ground reality of what everyday Americans are facing, which is the difficulty in putting food on the table, the challenges associated with paying rent, and the challenge associated with keeping the lights on. Those are the fundamental things that should not be an issue, especially when those individuals depend on unemployment benefits to pay those bills. I believe that states need to step up and take responsibility for their citizens, especially because states have received $350 billion in funding. Yes, you heard that right. $350 billion in funding from the federal government through the American Rescue Plan. And many states, and I did do another video on our channel, many states simply have left this money sitting there unused because they're flush with funds because of all the taxes they've been collecting through the pandemic from individuals who did indeed manage to get back to work. What they should be doing is repurposing this money to help those who need help the most, whether it's unemployment benefits, whether it's stimulus checks to those who need help the most. They should be doing this. They should be stepping up. And in fact, that is essentially what the US Labor Secretary Marty Walsh and the US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen have been advocating. Let me know where you stand with this. Do you agree with what Marty Walsh is saying? Do you agree with what Janet Yellen is saying? And do you agree with the overall position from the White House when it comes to these unemployment benefits? Thank you so much for watching. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. I want you to know that I know that the unemployment benefit system has failed you. I understand that. What I'm trying to do here on this channel is to bring you the truth and to let you know that this is not your fault. The system has essentially failed us, and I believe that we've covered the entire pandemic and the entire crisis in an honest and truthful way, and we'll continue to do that and hopefully help you get back on your feet and hopefully one day help you live the American dream. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, my name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. Please click the like button. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Don't forget to click like and subscribe, and also follow us on Twitter. This right here is our Twitter feed. Our Twitter handle is ignition_time. That's ignition_time. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.